with a noon tip-off on Saturday in the Big East at Madison Square Garden. Marquette going on the road to take on St. John's. The Golden Eagles number 17 in the AP poll right now. If you look at the Haslametrics ranks, they have Marquette at number 15, St. John's at number 40. St. John's had to play a game middle of the week without Rick Pitino coming back from COVID-19. If you look at offensive efficiency here, it's Marquette who's slightly better, around 116 per 100 possessions. St. John's at 114. Defensive efficiency, despite Rick Pitino and his kind of press style, he's known over the past few decades for having a solid defensive teams that continue to get better as March gets closer. It's Marquette that actually still has a slight edge in terms of defensive efficiency here. So if you look at kind of the projected spread that Haslametrics has, basically a pick 'em here at MSG. Still considered home court for St. John's, even though we're not at Carnesecca Arena here. Your initial thoughts on this matchup between these two solid Big East teams, and I think a St. John's team that is starting to maybe outperform expectations, minus the setback without Pitino on the bench a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, and Seton Hall went on a 28-0 run in the first half in that game, wow, believe it or not, which blew it wide open. Jordan Dingle also missed the game for St. John's, speaking of transfers, and from the low major ranks to the high major ranks, coming over from Penn. Now with the Johnnies, missed that game with an illness. So we'll see if he goes. Not that that was why St. John's lost by close to 30 points. I think that definitely correlates more to Pitino's absence, but still, Dingle's ability to create off the dribble, whether it's a catch and shoot shot or attacking the basket, definitely missed for the Red Storm. But looking at Marquette, also missing some integral pieces, not necessarily coming back for this game either. Sean Jones, their backup point guard, to Tyler Kolek, also a little bit more of a 2 off the bench, torn ACL last week, I think, so out for the rest of the season. And Chase Ross, also a depth piece off the bench, 2-guard wing, out till the end of the month. And if you look at Marquette's shooting efficiency from behind the arc in conference play, 27.8%. And like I mentioned, without Ross, without Jones, guard depth could be an issue, to the point that you brought up, or because of the point you brought up with St. John's pressing. Now, this isn't your typical Johnny's press or even your Pitino press, even going back to last year and his short, brief tenure with Iona. If you want to backtrack a bit more to Louisville or even his Kentucky days, St. John's ranks in the 63rd percentile in press frequency per synergy. So they're not in the 90th percentile, even 80th percentile, kind of like when Mike Anderson was at the helm for St. John's. Now, like you hit on, St. John's should outperform expectations the rest of the way, and they already have to begin Big East play, which wasn't the case in Anderson's tenure. But then you look at St. John's three-point defense, allowing opponents to shoot around 28%. Is Marquette gonna hold true to that 27% clip? Maybe, just because if they get worn down by the Johnnies defense throughout this game, maybe Kolek's efficiency continues to be an issue. Also, Cam Jones, you look at his three-point shooting in conference play, he got back on track against Villanova, but a combined 4 of 20 in those Butler and Seton Hall losses. So Jones is going to have to find his touch from deep from Marquette to be able to compete against St. John's. And I say that with all honesty, because you mentioned the Haslametrics point spread. I have St. John's closer to around a pick against Marquette when I take out my priors and just looking at the last month of conference play in the Big East. So you look at St. John's, also 36th percentile in defensive efficiency in transition. So that could be an issue against a Marquette team that wants to get out on the break. But I really think this boils down to whether Marquette can find its three-point shooting against this St. John's defense that could be due for a bit of defensive regression.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head was at on this one, Eli. Is, I saw potential positive regression here for Marquette's three-point shooting. I don't know when it's going to come, but I feel like it's going to have to come at this point. Jones and Kolek, their three-point field goal percentage is down from last season, from what we saw. I wonder if at some point that's going to get back to the averages we saw a season ago. And just overall, the way these two teams play offense really makes me want to side with Marquette in this matchup. I'm always hesitant to take a team to cover on the road here, especially if it's going to be around a pick 'em and we're not getting a lot of points. It's a tough ask, but this isn't a true college road environment here at MSG. So it's I think you get more casual fans in there. It's not a tight, loud arena like for a normal St. John's game. It's kind of like the equivalent of when Villanova plays at Wells Fargo Center, right? There's a lot of empty seats, even for big games. But if we look at the style of these two teams and the quality of shots that they take, St. John's 328th in rim and three rate. Marquette 30th in the country in rim and three rate. Marquette understands the highest quality shots you can take, the highest efficiency shots you can take, and they've totally bought into that, being top 30 in the country. And St. John's has it. They still take a ton of mid-range shots, low efficiency shots. And the other side too that I like about Marquette, they create extra possessions with the amount of turnovers that they force. They're 26th in the nation in turnover percentage. And they also don't give extra possessions away to their opponents. They're 7th in the nation I have that flipped. I apologize. Let me fix that. They're 26th in the nation in turnover percentage offensively. So they don't give the ball away very much at a top 30 rate. And on defense, they're top 10 in forcing turnovers in terms of turnover percentage. So, I like that. A team that takes the ball away a lot and doesn't give the ball away a lot. That leads for extra opportunities. So if this line is going to be around a pick 'em, even though they're on the road, I still like Marquette here to basically just win the game against St. John's.
Definitely fair points. The one thing I will say about Marquette, and I say it in the same vein as Creighton is struggling, similar sense, just you lose key pieces, you lose athletic pieces going back to last year for Marquette, not just what they've lost this season with those injuries that I mentioned, Jones and Ross, but Omax Prosper, what he meant to Marquette defensively, his ability to switch on any position. I think he allowed individual defense-wise around a 27% field goal clip when it came to, again, just his matchup. So with Creighton and what they lost athletically, Marquette lost arguably its best defensive player when it came to its Swiss Army knife on that end of the floor. So just one thing to keep in mind when you look at Marquette, they may have been power rated a little bit too high entering the season and now drifting back into the range. Maybe you are right, Stephen. Maybe this is a buy low, but I would still be a little bit concerned with those current injuries just because of the depth on this team as it stands.